Hello everyone, you are watching Naresh IAS Academy digital platform and I am going to discuss a topic from the social sector, the salient features of Indian society and diversity of society and the emerging challenges and threat before the Indian society. I have already discussed the General Studies question paper 2 entirely through the 20 videos and these I have uploaded on the YouTube channel, so you may take help from there. And again I am trying to complete the GS paper 1 and you may contact for offline classes or answer writings practice. Indian society, an important topic. UPSC is generally asking one or more questions from the topic annually. The society, first of all, I will discuss the one aspect of diversity. And second, emerging challenges or threats. There are some conventional aspects you must know about the Indian society. For example, what are the salient features of Indian society? How the Indian society is identified. So this is the conventional pattern. Then you must read this topic from the any sources. Just like a society is based upon caste or the Varna system. However, over the time we have traced the drastic changes in the concept of caste and the casteism, and the joint family is a basis of the Indian society, but it is now converting into the nuclear family at a large scale. Even about the food patterns, dressing sense, cultural values, moral values, ethical values and different kinds of traditions and practices are changing. But here I am going to discuss the important aspect is what do you mean by the diversity and on what basis the diversity is found in the Indian nation. So mainly when we talk about the diversity, it is generally the cultural diversity, and the cultural diversity is defined on the four bases. One, the linguistic diversity. There are so many languages spoken by the peoples in the different territories of the country. In the northern India, Jammu, Kashmir, Punjab, Haryana, southern part, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Kerala, and the eastern part, this is the Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Assam, and the western part, Rajasthan and Gujarat. Different kinds of linguistic diversity we can trace. And the religious diversity, there are so many religions exist in the different parts, like the Hindus, the largest religious group, Islam, Jainism, Buddhism, Parsi community, Christianity, and this is the religious diversity. Ethnic diversity. Ethnic diversity we can trace from the very earlier time, the ancient phase, when India was invaded by the Indo-Greeks, Greeks, Kushans, Islams and Europeans, and they introduce their cultural values and they interact with the Indian society, and now they exist. They have affected the Indian society for some extent, and the Indian original peoples have affected these ethnic groups, but they are found within the Indian society. We can clearly identify them, and the different kinds of the art form in the north, south, east and west region. The music, dancing pattern, drama, literature, paintings, architectures and the dressing sense. So many types of art forms we can see in the different parts of the country. So this is mainly the diversity exists within the Indian territory. Here the one question is arose, can we say India definitely a country with the small cultural pockets rather than a geographically integrated or politically united? So definitely we have to analyze the topic in a different context. The cultural diversity exists due to its geographical uniqueness and the political or governing system. Political and governing system provides a fertile or the favorable environment for the flourishment of these different diversities. Union government and the all state governments are binding with the constitutional or legal values and under which they are protecting the different kinds of diversities. So we cannot prioritize the cultural diversity over the political governance or the political integration. So they are existing along with, and they are the backward and forward linkage to each other. And again, the cultural diversity is not dominance over its geographical integration. So definitely the northern part of the country is under the great Himalaya regions or the great northern plains, while the southern part is under the great peninsula or the Deccan plateau. Western part is under the desert of Thar, and the eastern part of the India is under the small mountain range or some rivers. But the different geographical areas are very helpful for maintaining the cultural diversity. So here there is no questions of giving priority of any factors. Definitely they are coordinating to each other. Yes, we can identify India as a different cultural pockets. Along with India is geographically, politically integrated and the one nation, and behind the cultural diversity, its geography and political system is working now. Second, the diversity we can see in the different areas, like the diversity within the casteism, castes or even tribals, the caste based society and the existence of tribals. These are the two features of Indian society. Additionally, there are numerous castes or the uncountable castes in India, and the different castes have the linguistic and the different kinds of diversity. On the other hand, when we talk about the diversity within the tribals, the tribals of northeast are like the Naga tribes, Mizo tribes, Bodo tribes, and the tribes of the Rajasthan, Bhil, Meena, Garasia, and tribes of Maharashtra, the Koli tribes, the Toda tribes of the Nilgiri, and the Santhal tribes of the Jharkhand and Bihar. Definitely they are residing in the different parts of the country, and they have the different languages, the linguistic diversity, and they have the different kinds of food pattern, dressing sense, the marriage pattern and the sacrament patterns. So we can prove the cultural diversity within the castes or within the tribal groups. And additionally, now we should try to understand what are the basic pillars behind the cultural diversity of country? Because this diversity is continue from the ancient time or over the time, or we can say since the last 3000 years. It is not only continue but adapting different kinds of changes and still refining or under the developmental process. So, what are the basic pillars behind the cultural diversity for this continuation and adaptation of the different changes? Definitely we can trace the spirit of tolerance and love and the coexistence. So, these are the three basic pillars: coexistence, spirit of love and the tolerance. From the ancient time we can see when India was invaded by the Greeks people, and then the different invaders, Kushan were the most of them, and these invaders were assimilated into the Indian society, and now they have completely mixed up, but sometimes they are identified with their different kinds of cultural diversities. And later on India was invaded by the Islams, and Islam's created a strong cultural values under the Delhi Sultanate or under the Mughal Empire. Or then India was invaded by the Europeans, where the East India Company or the British company introduced a Christian values in the Indian society, and this was the spirit of tolerance and love towards these invaders, and we provided a social fabric for the coexistence to these invaders. That's why they are existing still today. We have affected them for some extent, and on the other hand we can say the existing Indian society have also adopted the some values. So then these are the three pillars on which the diversity is standing. And next is the Indian society stagnant or dynamic. So then we can trace both the features at a time, because there are some features they are providing continuation or stagnation to the society, like the caste, the value of caste, and the marriage pattern, food pattern, and the different kinds of sacraments, their outer religious practices or the religious rituals. So, this is the stagnation of the cultures. And on the other hand we can say Indian society also have adopted the new changes from the western countries or within the countries, and it has made the Indian society the more dynamic. So, we cannot say Indian society have more stagnant than the dynamic. If it is correct, definitely Indian society was destroyed in the earlier time, but now it is still forwarding and now communicating or interacting at the global level. So, Indian society have the both the values stagnation and dynamism. However, there may be a difference between their ratio or the proportion. It is the another aspect. The next part is what kind of challenges now the Indian society or its diversity is realizing, and these challenges either from the internal side or from the external. You know, India is now interacting at the global cultures. So, we can say the globalization is a reality of the today's life. simply it means we are interacting with the Western values, Christian cultures, and Christian cultures trying to dominate itself over the Eastern culture like the Indian culture. The globalization is affecting the Indian society and diversity in the various forms, like the English language have adopted by the Indians at a broad scale. We have prioritized the English language, and with the English we have also comfortably adopted the marriage pattern of the English language, food pattern, way of talkings, and scientific temperament or approach toward the society and the peoples and the rights of women. But does it mean India or Indians are losing their cultural diversity and they are seeming to giving priority to the English language and associated cultural values? No, it is not correct. It is our additional proficiency. We have our cultural diversity. Additionally, we are taking or affording the English language and the values associated with the English language. So, this is only a strongness and the mental broadness of Indians. We are also spreading our cultural dimensions throughout the world in the form of the language and the practice or preachings of our philosophical ideas, celebrations of our festivals, construction of temples and the mosque and the minarets, and the establishments of the educational institutions. So, we cannot say simply we are giving priorities to the Western cultures, it is affecting. No, through the Western culture we have additionally adopted the rational values and the scientific temperament, and through which we have transformed or refined our cultural values. Those were not scientific or progressive. So, definitely it has made profitable Indians for the two dimension. First, we are creating important role through this assimilation at the global level, and on the other hand, secondly, we have refined our cultural values and we have infused the scientific temperament in our cultures. Definitely, we are strengthening our cultural diversity through the globalization. However, initially there may be seen some threats, but finally it will be correct for the Indian culture. And the second aspect is what kind of challenges or threats are you realizing from the internal side? Definitely there are some orthodoxies or the fundamental anti-nation powers in the country. They are working from the a long period, but they are very few in the country, and sometimes they try to create conflicts between the cultural diversity, and it was resulted into the communal rights. But it is the beautifulness of our Indian cultural mind. After the communal rights, the Indians again started to living together, and they are working together, they are studying together in a one school, and they are interacting towards to each other in a single markets. So then definitely the fundamentalist powers, the radical powers, anti-nation power, separatist power, however trying to disintegrate or breaking down the our cultural diversity or our social fabric, but our political system, our governing system, and the progressive or scientific values of our cultures and the peoples, definitely they are defeating these factors. So, So these are the some dimensions regarding the Indian society. So you must try to understand or cover the topic within the framework, so that we can able to answer all the expected questions of the UPSC. Thank you.